Hello, this is Brandon Ivey, and I am a professional network marketer. And it's very interesting saying that because this month I celebrate my 17th year in the network marketing industry. And I wasn't always a professional. I didn't start out that way. In fact, nobody starts out that way as a professional, but it is up to each and every single one of us to treat this industry like a profession, to learn the skills necessary that's going to allow you to have unlimited amount of success. And I failed for a long time in the industry, and when I say by fail, meaning I didn't reach a situation where I was making a whole lot of money. But during those years, I also learned everything that I know today. I learned during those years, and those are very, very important that you don't miss out on that. That even though you may be struggling, that the skills that you're learning is going to set you free in the future. You can't quit too early. And one of the skills that I learned to master was the ability to tell your story. And I have to admit, after all these years, it comes second nature to me that I don't think about it. And because so, I don't actually train on this skill set. And it is a skill set, even though it's it may seem, second nature. It's your story. How's telling your story a skill? Why is it even important? And I was reminded of this at the GoPro event with Eric Worre this past October in Las Vegas. A woman named Susan Sly got on the stage and she talked about telling your story. See, everybody is always trying to become an expert, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to be an expert at what you do, but becoming an expert is not what makes you a professional. You can be a professional and not fully an expert at what you're doing. It's more in how you do what you're doing. There are certain things that you have control over and certain things that you do not. See, in our industry, it is all about building a team and an organization and a sales force. But since this is the people business and the people industry, we cannot control other people. We cannot control when, where, or how they do what they do. All we can do is show them the way, show them the path, and the select few, because most will not do it, but the select few will, and that's who you spend most of your time on. So the ultimate question is, how do I find that select few? How do they become attracted to me? And it is all in telling your story. I wanted to slap myself for kind of, not weighing heavily on this. And it is one of the most important secrets of success in network marketing. People sign up with people and not businesses. The best way to be able to enroll new business partners is for you to be able to actually care about the new people that's going to be joining your team. The ability to relate, the ability to connect. And when I learned to master this skill, it took me from broke to 5 figures a month in this industry. So this is a skill definitely that you must master, and it is also the one you have the most control over. It doesn't matter if you become the best presenter in the world, if you know about your product and services better than anybody else. None of that matters. What is your story? Tell me your story. And what I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to share with you actually 3 stories that has allowed me to become a 5-figure earner in this industry, and a bonus story that I learned when you don't have a story of your own. Now, as you grow in this industry, things in your life changes. You have new experiences, you have new responsibilities. But when I first got started at 21 years old, I didn't know anything. I was like a baby. I had just been able to legal age of drinking, just voted for president for the first time, just leaving my parents' house, just in school. So when they told me, "What's your story?" I was like, what do you mean, what's my story? Like, why are you here? Why did you choose this industry? What do you want this industry to do for you? And the common thing is, I want to make more money. Okay, why? What's your story? And when I think back 17 years ago, I did have a story back then that's not the same story as it is today. So I'm going to share with you guys 3 stories. But the first, I'm going to share what I do share today. I share this story every time I open my mouth and I talk about business. It's in every one of my videos, all of my presentations, and the story goes like this. You know, I was taught that if I want to have financial freedom in America, there's a couple of things that I must do. That's go to school, get good grades, and get a good, safe, secure job. A job that will take care of me for the rest of my life. And that's exactly what I did. I graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I went on to have a nice corporate career going, but due to no fault of my own, I was laid off from my job, not once, but twice. And if you've been laid off on your job before, you know exactly how that feels. And if you haven't, I guarantee you know somebody who has. And chances are you're putting in more time, more hours, more effort. And you better not even ask for a raise because you're lucky to have a job in the first place. And let's talk about those lucky few. The federal government states that 97% of all Americans will retire broke, depending on family, government, and friends by the age of 65. 97%. We have 10,000 baby boomers that's going to retire a day, a trend that's going to continue for the next 10 years. So I don't need to convince you that the economy is not doing so well right now. You see it in your day-to-day lives. But let's look at those lucky few. If you're lucky enough not to get laid off, not to lose your job, then 97% of you that even do retire, the federal government says you're going to have no Social Security, no pension, no savings. Your house is a liability and not an asset. Social Security is a joke. And you can't even become a Walmart greeter anymore because most companies are moving to e-commerce and not even hiring people anymore. So I knew I had to make a decision. And I made the decision to really put my head down in network marketing, work hard at it, no matter what. And I was able to walk off my job and retire by the age of 36 years old. And if I can do it, so can you. But it's all about finding the right vehicle that you can be passionate about. All right, that's the story that I tell every time I open my mouth. But here's the story that I told when I first got started in network marketing. And the story went like this. You know, I joined network marketing because I grew up in a family that was kind of like the Huxtables. My father and mother worked very hard. My dad was very successful. You know, I never grew up for want. We've always had nice houses. We've had nice neighborhoods we lived in. I went to the best schools. I've been in private school since 3rd grade, almost my entire life, including high school and college. I've been in private schools. Always had the best, never really needed for a want. I remember there have been some weeks where we only had $20 to make it through the week, but we never went hungry. If we had to go to grandma's house and eat a couple of nights, that's what we did. And to me, it was just like I had a chance to play with my cousins. I didn't know we were eating over there because we couldn't afford food. But I always had clothes. I never went hungry. I was never cold. I was always clean and taken care of. But the one thing that I didn't like was that my dad was working so hard that he wasn't able to spend that much time with us, with me and my brother. There's sometimes he might have missed some of our games, missed some of the things that he worked as hard as he could to make it to every event he possibly could. But I also saw the pain and struggle on his face when he would come home. That he was working for a company that used to have a hiring policy of not hiring minorities. That he would have to work 2 to 3 times harder than his fellow employees just to get the same recognition if he ever got recognized for how hard he was working. And I saw him do this to provide for what we have now. And I said, you know, when I get older, I want a better way. I want to find a different way than what my father had to go through when I have a family. And just a couple of months ago, my senior year at Morehouse College, I got hired at a company called Kraft, where they were going to move me down to Augusta, Georgia. And when I went to Augusta, Georgia, the job was already laid out, about $28,000 a year starting out for me. Pretty good for a college kid just getting out of school in 1998. But here's what happened 2 months before I graduated. The entire division and the person who hired me was laid off at Kraft. So I experienced my first layoff before I stepped foot in the office. So I was definitely open to hearing about another way, but another life event happened to me as well, because the summer before I had the opportunity to have an internship with Congressman Jose Serrano from the Bronx in Washington, D.C. And one of those days I had lunch with a congressman named Patrick Kennedy. You might have heard of him. Ted Kennedy's son. JFK's nephew. And I was with him and Congressman J.C. Watts. And sitting at that table, we were just talking about the future. And there was a couple of other interns there. And I'm 21 years old. And they asked me, what do you want to do when you're finished with all this? I said, well, I want to become a lawyer and, maybe one day run for Congress and try to make a difference in politics. I was very involved in politics at the time. And he said, great. So is your family wealthy? I said, no. He says, does your family have access to wealth, independent wealth? No. He says, okay, well, you're going to have a little problem. You're going to have to figure out how to get wealth behind you. He said, because when you're finished with this, you're going to graduate from college in debt, which means you got to go get a job. And while you're getting a job, then you're trying to study for law school and go through all of that stuff. You're not going to have the time to make the necessary acquaintances and networks to get you into the political sphere the way you may want it to be. He said, if I were you, this is what I would do. Where are you from? I said, I'm from Los Angeles. He said, great, this is what you want to do. There's over 13 million people in Southern California. Go back home and find a business or find something that's going to have 50,000 people give you $1 every single month. 50,000 people give you $1. And if you succeed at that, with $50,000 a month coming in, you don't need a job. You can fund anything that you want to do. You can make donations to the right organizations and get inroads into the political atmosphere. Make the connections that you need. And then he went on talking about something else. And if you ask him now, he won't ever remember that conversation and has no idea how much of an impact it's had on me. So I was open and ready when network marketing was presented to me. And I jumped on board because I want to be financially free in 10 years. That was my story when I was 21 years old. My story has evolved and changed since then. So that's 2 stories that I've told you so far. The story I say today, the story I had when I first got started, but there's another story that has happened that motivates me, that I share every now and then, really when I get promoted. And here's how this story goes. See, when I was involved in network marketing, I understood that this was the future for me, but I wasn't making enough money yet to be able to take care of myself. So I had to go and get a job. I had a family, I had kids. But due to no fault of my own, I was laid off from my job, not once but twice. And I quickly realized that I need to make this work. So the last time when I was on a job and I was in a situation where in the network marketing company I was a part of, had disagreements with the CEO and the direction of the company, and he terminated me. And I lost 2 months worth of income. At the same time, I got a pink slip on my job. And that pink slip said that within the next 4 to 5 months, it's a possibility that you may lose your job, so you can either take the risk or you can relocate now up to San Jose, California. I had no desire to relocate my family up to San Jose. So I now have to play Russian roulette basically. It's 50-50 chance if I keep moving forward, do I keep my job or not? I already wasn't making enough money to begin with. Now I'm faced with losing that job, and I already lost my network marketing income. My wife wasn't working at the time. My back was against the wall. I had to make something work. And I got involved with the company, put my head down, and went to work. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't care. I didn't take no for an answer. 90 days later, I was at $12,000 a month and rising. I was able to walk off my job before they fired me or laid me off and retire at the age of 36 years old. Now every day is a Friday. I wake up when I'm finished sleeping. I'm able to attend all of my kids' events that I wished that my father was able to do for me. There's nothing like having time and freedom. See, most people have time but don't have money. Or they have money but don't have time. How about being able to have both? And that's what the industry of network marketing has provided for me. There you go. That's 3 stories that I have mastered at sharing. The problem that most people have is that they never share their story. And if you don't share your story, then people can never connect with you. People never know that you're real. They think that you're a paid company spokeshole They don't know that you're a living person that understands struggle, that can't relate with you. And you may say to yourself, I don't have a story. I don't know what to say. I'm still working on that. Great. You know what you do? Is you use somebody else's story. Here's a story that I use all the time because I know that it relates to a lot of people. When I was on my job, I took a vacation, took my family down to Florida, and we went to Disney World for the very first time. Now, being from Los Angeles, we've been a part of Disneyland before, but never part of Disney World. And it was an exciting trip for us. We were very excited. We saved up all year for this trip. And while I was on this trip, I got a phone call from a coworker. And she said that they are calling people off vacation into the office. I'm just giving you a heads up. I don't know if they've called you yet. And I said, no, they haven't called me. But they called one of my good friends into the office off of his vacation. And they said, you know, because of the economy right now, this is around 2007, 2008, we're going to have to let you go. We're going to have to fire you. Now, he's been on that job for 16, 17 years. He was a professional salesman. That's all he's done all his life. Now he's faced at Christmas time by getting laid off from his job. How many people have ever been laid off right before Christmas? The worst thing about it is this. He can't go somewhere else to get a job because all of our competitors were laying off all of their sales force. So what's he going to do with his family? Go back to school? He can't go back to school because that's not an immediate safety valve. He's not going to be able to earn money immediately doing that. He can't get another job in anything else because that's his only profession. And what ended up happening 3 months later, he had a stroke. And he's laying in the hospital bed and his wife comes in the room and she tells him that his medical coverage expired a week before he had the stroke. So now he's laying up in the hospital bed, no job, wife doesn't work, taking care of his family, mother-in-law moved in with them, no medical, and he has a health issue. How do you move forward? And that story scared the hell out of me. And that's something that everybody has either gone through or they know somebody who has. Tell somebody else's story if you don't have one of your own. See, when I first joined network marketing, the mentors I had at the time always talked about their story. 17 years later, even though I spent all the time mastering the products, mastering the compensation plan, mastering a presentation, if you asked me to do a presentation on that company right now, I'd fail. Yet I remember every single one of their stories. I remember Montrell Jackson's story. He has like 7 or 8 kids, was living in Alabama, couldn't afford to take care of his family, had to move himself to Atlanta in a room with Sam Orem and leave his family in Alabama just because that's where the job was, and he would send money back home. I remember the story of him needing to pay all his bills, and he couldn't pay for them. He would throw all the bills up, whichever one he caught, that's the bill that got paid. I remember Sam Orem's story, where Sam was in a situation where he was in medical school. He was a doctor, and he walked away from being a doctor to do network marketing because he realized that, yeah, he would have made a lot of money, but he didn't have a lot of time, and he didn't have a lot of passion in what he was doing. And he wanted to walk his mother off her job, who worked as a seamstress for over 20 years. And doing the same thing over and over again, she was having the carpal tunnel syndrome or issues with her hands and her feet. And he pulled up to her job in a limo, walked her off her job, and she's never worked a day since. He was able to take care of his mother. Or Steve Carter, who at one point did join a network marketing company and went 1.5 years and didn't make any money, was dead broke, and had an eviction notice at his house. And when they came to evict him, he had turned off all the lights and everything and was hiding underneath the window in a bathroom, trying to be as quiet as a mouse because he didn't want them to know he was there. And he said to himself, never again do I want to feel this way. And he put his head down and went to work, and 8 months later, he at the top position of the company. I remember those stories 17 years ago, but I don't remember the company's compensation plan or products. Stories is what's going to build your business. Master sharing your story. You don't have to be an expert. You just need a story. Because with your story, your why has more impact in the business that you're doing. Without your story, you're just speaking generic. And I'm going to end this video by playing a video that's going to hit that point home. When you know your why you're doing, the impact has more value. My name is Brandon Ivey, professional network marketer. Bye-bye.
So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow.
That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Right now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
So here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.